After 3 days, after completing landscaping work and clearing out a filthy trailer that included moldy, wet furniture, Hortensia, an immigrant worker, went to the man that hired her and asked to get paid. He refused, pointed a gun at her and her relative, and said she could not do anything because she does not have papers. Both of my parents came to this country illegally, and this is one of the main reasons why I'm really interested in any anti-immigrant laws, because I feel I need to stand up as an American citizen for my parents and for the rest of the Hispanics in the country. Arizona passed a law in 2010. Opponents say that it aimed to identify, prosecute, and deport illegal immigrants. As well as Alabama, they also passed a law, and opponents say that their law is discriminatory and abusive towards all workers. What the Arizona law, SB 1070, consists of is a failure to carry immigration papers is a crime, and it gives the authorities broad power to detain anyone that is suspected of being in the country illegally. This is an invitation for harassment and discrimination. Obama highly criticized this law, saying that it threatened to undermine basic notions of fairness that we cherish as Americans in the country. Then there's the HB 56, which is Alabama's law, and within this law, it is you cannot get a car tag, a business permit, or a license unless you are a citizen of the country. And then there was some provisions made for, so that's for the SB 1070. These are people that are doing protests to fight against it. And then for Alabama, so in Alabama, authorities also detain anyone that they have reasonable suspicion of being in this country illegally, but if they are stopped for any reason whatsoever, they can also detain anyone else in the vehicle, not just a driver. Then there was a business transaction provision in the law, and so public utility companies did not give immigrants power or water. Many schools, they stopped this already, but many schools at the beginning had to take in any immigrant students that came into the school. They had to take note of their citizenship status. If they were immigrants, many kids were scared from going to school, so many of them, didn't go to school. Then there's, of course, people that are losing jobs. Many people say, immigrants are taking jobs. Who wants to work in the fields? I don't, I don't want to work in the fields. I'm sure many people don't want to work in the fields. So how does that mean that immigrants are taking jobs? Many businesses are suffering because of this, because people are scared to go out and buy milk. They're scared to go out and just do little small errands because they're afraid to get pulled over and get deported and be separated from their families. Farmers are losing millions of dollars because crops have been left rotting in both states. People that are supporting these laws say that if these jobs were left vacant, American citizens could go and work at these jobs. But farmers say that's not the case. Many people that they have hired after these laws came into effect, they could only handle it for a couple hours. They cannot stay there for 10 hours, as these immigrants would do so. There was a lady in Alabama who had a hair salon, and her business permit expired, so she was scared to go and get it renewed because she thought she would get deported, but she received a call saying that if she did not renew it, that she would be fined $10,000 or deported if she worked without one. So she did end up going, and they asked for her Social Security and Alabama ID, and she did not have it, so she lied to them and said it was in the car, and she never went back because she was afraid she was going to get deported and leave her children behind who are American citizens, but they don't take that into effect. In Alabama, it says 40,000 have left the state. The GDP, which is the gross domestic product, their losses could be up to 2.3 to 10.8 billion. So that just shows the effect, of how it affects the state, and not just the families that lose, the kids that lose their parents or anything like that. Also, some people have been denied food stamps because the parents are illegal immigrants, even though they want to get food for their children who are born here in the United States. They are denied food stamps. In Arizona, there was 100,000 fewer Hispanics. Many of these moved back to Mexico or just moved out of the state. And also, they changed their party affiliations, so many who were Republicans changed to Democrats because of this. And schools, churches, businesses, they all noticed that there has been drops when this law came into effect. Also, the president of Arizona State said he had concern because many students that were honor roll students have dropped since this law came into effect. So that's affecting the schools as well, because students are doing well, but they want to go against it, so they drop out. And then there's the NAFTA, which is the National American Free Trade Agreement. This is an agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And this is the only trade that protects immigrants in the United States and their rights to work and not be any discrimination against. And the NAFTA says that the Alabama law is discriminatory and abusive, and that they are going to fight this law with everything they can bring to bear under the U.S. law. And they're not going to stop just at the borders. They're going to bring the fight to a global stage and put HB 56 under international scrutiny. Many communities also are coming together and asking their lawmakers to focus on positive laws rather than laws that cause controversy and trigger lawsuits and dampen economic growth. So, we can come together, and they have protests. Usually it's just Hispanics that attend. I myself have been to some protests, and I think it's a step forward to do what's best for our country, because it kind of brings us back to when African Americans were, were treated badly. It's coming back to that. If someone sees you and you look Hispanic, they're going to treat you differently, just like they would treat black people differently. It's the same thing. So do we really want to go back to that? So I think we can all come together and change racial profiling and discrimination against immigrants. So, are there any questions?